Hi everybody, meteorologist Greg D. Update on Elsa, which just recently became a hurricane based on some observations out of Barbados. Now a 75-mile-an-hour storm. The pressure is at 995. It's moving west-northwest at 28. North of the center, there have been some gusts that are pretty strong. So the way these storms work is you take the maximum wind speeds, and to the right of the track of motion, in this case, because it's moving west-northwest, it's the north side of the eye, you add the forward speed to get the maximum, some of the maximum potential wind gusts, and that puts you in that 100-mile-an-hour wind gust range. We've already seen some wind gusts in Barbados to 86. The south side of the storm is going to be 75 minus 28 miles per hour, so barely a tropical storm. It's a system of contrast right now because of its fast forward motion. So there you see the wind gusts. There's the latest gust out of Barbados. You see that popping up, 106 miles per hour at Bridgetown, Barbados. It is moving to the west-northwest. Other islands in its way, the Leeward Islands. It'll be through them here in the next several hours. And then, of course, the big question is the track of the storm once it get past the island. So this has the position updated, but the track guidance from the Hurricane Center won't update until about 11 o'clock this morning. So we're still working off of older data here, which really hasn't changed. The intensity and the track of the storm are almost two different forecasts. Still forecast to travel west-northwest. The models right now in the Hurricane Center as well really haven't threaded between the islands here, Hispaniola, Jamaica, and Cuba. If it were to do that, if it were to spend the majority of its track here over water, it could maintain some intensity, maybe even minimal tropical, strong tropical storm or minimal hurricane strength. Then it would have to cross Cuba. The crossing of Cuba, also a big question here. How close is it going to get to land, and how much time is it going to spend over the island? The eastern part of the island, very mountainous. That would not be very good for the storm to cross. It would be good for us, as it would weaken the storm quite a bit. And then there's that cone, which really includes everyone from the eastern Gulf of Mexico and the Florida Panhandle to the entire Florida Peninsula and then out towards the East Coast. Please remember that this cone covers potential locations of the center of the storm about 5 days out. That does not mean that there won't be any effects outside of the cone. Even if the storm tracks on the very western fringe of this cone here, it could potentially be wide enough to send rain bands into the state of Florida on Tuesday and Wednesday. If the storm were to track on the far east side of this cone, out into the Atlantic Ocean, it could potentially be large enough to bring rain squalls to the east coast of Florida and some gusty winds. So even though the center may be on the edges of this, the storm itself is much larger, and the impacts from the storm are going to be felt well beyond this cone. Worst case scenario for us, of course, would be a storm that tracks right up the eastern Gulf of Mexico, as that would push water and wind and the stronger side of the storm in our direction. Potential impacts on this would be Tuesday into Wednesday, though again, there are a lot of ifs and a lot of things can change. The best way to stay ahead of all of this is to continue to get updates on the storm. And the reason I say that is because the models are pretty in sync about tracking this thing south of Hispaniola with very little change in its position through at least the next couple of days. But after that, the storm tracks, the model tracks here, start to diverge. They start to move. Some are farther north, some are farther south, with some even continuing a west-northwest motion farther into the Gulf of Mexico. So there is still some potential for adjustments to this track, and that's why we just need to continue to watch it. Of course, it's hurricane season, so you should already have a hurricane kit ready. If you don't, maybe a good idea to kind of get that wrapped up. Things that you should have gotten before June 1st, you should definitely have at home now. I'll be posting updates at Greg D. Weather on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook throughout the weekend and today. If you've got questions about the storm, feel free to comment under this post. I'll try to get to them as many as I can. Again, we're still in a wait and watch kind of a situation. It's hurricane season. You should already be prepared with your minimal kit. And if we do have to deal with some impacts from Elsa, whether it's a tropical storm or a weak hurricane, or maybe nothing at all, we'll keep you updated through the weekend with updates throughout the day. I'll see you later right here on my social media channels.